Before smartphones, before Wi-Fi, before 24-hour news, the 80s imagined futures built from fear. They guessed what might happen if everything failed at once. Governments, families, memory, even sunlight. The tech was crude, but the paranoia was precise. The warnings came hidden in movies. The first one didn't even bother pretending it was fiction. 1984 imagines a future where surveillance is absolute, language is rewritten, and even thoughts are crimes. Winston Smith edits newspapers for a regime that punishes memory. He changes facts, deletes names, rewrites history, then watches those changes become truth. His rebellion starts small, keeping a journal, meeting Julia, whispering in stairwells, and ends in a room with no windows, where betrayal is just another step toward obedience. The Ministry of Truth was shot in real, decaying London buildings, lit only by gray skies and dusty fluorescence. John Hurt starved himself into Winston's haunted frame, walking like someone already erased. Richard Burton stayed sober for the entire shoot, his first dry performance in years, and treated it like a final act. His calm voice made every line feel like a trap. The cast shot the final torture scenes in silence, cold breath visible on set, everyone moving like they were being watched. Released during the year it was named for, the film blurred the line between fiction and instruction. The posters said Big Brother is watching you, but by 1984, cameras already were. The Quiet Earth starts with empty streets and blinking stoplights. Zach Hobson wakes up alone and assumes everyone is dead. Radios don't answer, planes don't fly. Auckland becomes a ghost city, shot at dawn with no extras and no permits. He steals clothes, shouts from rooftops, moves into empty houses. He suspects the experiment he worked on collapsed the fabric of time, but there's no one left to argue. His breakdown is slow and theatrical, talking to mannequins, building shrines, dressing like a dictator. Bruno Lawrence stayed in character off camera, refusing to speak to the crew. He wandered the silent sets like he'd really lost his mind. Eventually, Zach finds two other survivors, and everything gets worse. Jealousy, guilt, and dread creep into the silence. The final scene, filmed on a remote beach with no explanation given to the cast, shows Zach waking up again in another version of reality. The director left the meaning open on purpose. It still sparks theories about purgatory, alternate timelines, and second chances, but most viewers just remember the look on his face when he realizes he's still alone. Cherry 2000 is set in a future where relationships are managed through contracts, human contact is seen as risky, and romantic fulfillment has been replaced by manufactured stand-ins. When Sam's synthetic partner breaks during a domestic mishap, he hires a desert tracker to help him find a replacement model in the lawless ruins beyond the city. The trip turns into a surreal odyssey through gun cults, scavenger settlements, and the last scraps of old-world infrastructure. Melanie Griffith, cast as the tracker, had just given birth weeks before filming and brought her newborn to set every day, feeding him between takes. The film was shot across abandoned Nevada structures with real debris and minimal set dressing. Despite her central role, Griffith disavowed the project and expressed open embarrassment during press tours for Working Girl. The movie sat unreleased for years due to studio collapse and was finally dumped to video as a quick cash-in on her sudden fame. The film's soundtrack quietly became a cult artifact, once auctioned for over $2,000. Years later, Griffith mentioned her daughter Dakota Johnson as a possible lead for a remake, though it's unclear whether that was serious or just another footnote in the film's strange afterlife. They Live kicks off like any other 1980s blue-collar story guy. With calluses rolls into town looking for work, lands a construction gig, and crashes in a tent city built under a skyline of Reagan-era corporate shine. But the twist? Nada finds a box of sunglasses that don't just block UV, they reveal the real world. Behind billboards and storefronts, every ad screams OB, or consume. Suits and executives, not people. They're bug-eyed aliens dressed like bankers, brainwashing humans with invisible signals piped through every screen. It's satire so blunt it loops around to being prophetic. Nada doesn't organize a protest or call a journalist. He grabs a shotgun and marches into a bank, spitting out the now iconic line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." Roddy Piper ad-libbed that, by the way. It's part of what makes the whole thing feel raw, pissed off, and weirdly relevant now. There's a 5-minute alley fight just to get someone else to see the truth, which hits differently when algorithms are the new signal. By the end, Nada blows up the broadcast and dies for it. But today, you don't need shades to know we're being sold obedience, disguised as choice. Miracle Mile begins with Harry picking up a phone at a diner and hearing a voice warning that nuclear war will begin in less than an hour. What follows is a real-time spiral through late-night Los Angeles, as Harry scrambles to find Julie, explain the impossible, and escape the city before the missiles hit. Shot over 8 relentless weeks of night filming, the cast and crew quickly became nocturnal, sleep-deprived, and wired on bad coffee. Anthony Edwards, cast against type, joked about watching commuters head to work as he drank rat beers at dawn. Studios pushed for a happy ending. Director Steve DeJarnat refused and lost funding repeatedly for insisting the world end on screen. The final moments were filmed in a real tar pit. Edwards and Mayor Winningham were strapped into a fiberglass shell, flooded with water, and given emergency oxygen tanks during takes. The eerie twilight tone came from Desjarnais's own experiences in late-night LA. Empty streets, payphones ringing, and the fear that no one would believe you if the world really was ending. When the film finally premiered, many critics couldn't tell if it was science fiction or a straight-up panic attack. The Running Man imagines a future where crime, poverty, and rebellion are managed through televised execution disguised as sport. Prisoners are sent into a deathmatch arena while viewers cheer from home, certain they're watching justice. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a wrongly accused pilot thrown into the game after refusing to fire on civilians. The role was originally pitched to other stars, but Arnold came on board after heavy contract negotiation. He clashed with producers over the tone and reshoots, describing the final cut as clumsy and compromised. The film's gladiator scenes were shot on massive sets built inside an old cement factory, repurposed to look like a crumbling network stage. Vernon Wells injured his hand during filming, and his bandaged look was kept in as part of the costume. The crowd scenes were filled with real extras reacting to live feeds of the fights, blurring the line between performance and participation. During Reagan's peak years, the film's satire of corporate media, fake news, and public bloodlust was seen as paranoid, if not unpatriotic. Studio executives cut political monologues for international releases, while Carpenter defended every frame as documentary fiction. Testament takes place in a quiet California suburb after a nuclear attack cuts off the outside world and leaves families to die slowly one by one. Carol's husband leaves for work and never returns, power vanishes, emergency systems collapse, bodies are buried in backyards. Carol tries to hold the household together as her children succumb to radiation. Jane Alexander prepared for the role by studying accounts from Hiroshima survivors and based her performance on what grief looks like when no one is allowed to name it. The film was shot in real homes with no score, minimal lighting, and a tiny crew. Every shot feels like it was found in someone's attic. The script was adapted from a short story inspired by Cold War fallout drills and letters from actual nuclear planning documents. Parents protested the broadcast, schools avoided showing it. Critics described it as too close to reality to discuss or review. The final shot lingers on Carol, recording a goodbye message on tape, even though there's no one left to hear it. Jane Alexander was nominated for an Oscar. The film had a small theatrical run, but no promotion followed. It existed for memory, not for ticket sales. Night of the Comet starts with a meteor shower that turns most of humanity into dust or zombies, leaving behind a few survivors, including two sisters armed with sarcasm, semi-automatics, and a stubborn will to live. Regina and Samantha hole up in an abandoned radio station, search for supplies, and occasionally kill the reanimated corpses of their neighbors. The downtown Los Angeles scenes were filmed on Christmas morning to capture the empty streets without needing permits. Crew had to deal with unexpected pedestrians and real cleanup crews wandering into shots. The line about uses was improvised on set after the Mac-10 kept jamming mid-take. The actresses played it off, and the director kept the footage. The slap between the sisters was a real hit, done for authenticity under tight scheduling. The costume design used bold colors to split the sisters' personalities, deep tones for Regina's pragmatism, bright magenta, and turquoise for Samantha's chaos. Despite its limited budget, the film built a lasting cult following. Every mistake, from broken props to missed makeup calls, became part of its charm. It wasn't polished, but it felt lived in, and people kept watching,